Ladies and gentlemen, we have just had the new Guild Boss release inside Watcher of Realms. So this is going to be the Matrix 1, the Zerbus, and this, of course, is kind of an amalgamation of some of the game mechanics that we'll see inside Abyss 1, as well as the classic Nightmare 3 and 4 Guild Boss fights. So Guild Boss 1, of course. This requires you to have an obscene amount of AoE magic damage dealers, as well as an obscene amount of AoE physical damage dealers. Now, the physical damage dealing side of things is significantly weaker. As you can see, even on my account, I was definitely struggling to try and find competent damage dealers to fill these slots. When you're looking at this secondary team here, so the physical damage dealers, it's in no way complete. So, don't really go too deep into that. But I wanted to get this video out essentially as soon as possible because I know a lot of people are going to be struggling with this content, and at the time of recording this, at least, it is October 14th, so we are on day 1 of this content release. So everything I showcase here, take it with a bit of a grain of salt. Everything can be fine-tuned and adjusted, and it certainly will be over time by people smarter than me to min-max these team compositions and whatnot. But when I looked on YouTube so far, when I looked at anybody else who was showcasing this content, I kind of just found myself thinking, whoa, man, I don't even have Cyrus, right? Like, he's not somebody that I have. A lot of the team compositions that we're seeing out there right now do rely on Cyrus, unfortunately, as your tank for this particular content, because he's going to be basically best in slot. He's also a lord for one of the best factions in the game for this particular content, and he has great survivability. He can summon his skeletons and whatnot that will really just help your team make it a lot further. I don't have him, right? So I had to find alternatives, and we're going to go through that here today. So this top team that you see here is the team that I'm going to be using, and I'll walk you through their builds and everything like that. First of all, we have Venoma. I guess this is a pretty nifty way to show the builds, but we'll do it properly. So we have Venoma, just built out in absolutely crap gear, basically just the best gear that I could auto-equip. Not a very good artifact either, to be completely honest. Nerissa, and I'll walk you through potential substitutions for all of these heroes as we kind of go through it. So Nerissa, you could very much replace her with a Pharisee. If you're using Draylin as your tank, then you don't necessarily need to worry about having the damage reduction from like a Nerissa, but you're going to need one of those 3 units. So you're going to need Draylin, Nerissa, or Pharisee, preferably 2 of those units if at all possible. This is her build here. So we got decent HP, decent attack. She does, of course, have the invigoration set there to give that buff as well. This, I'm not going to lie, this content, I'm just going to be honest, it's kind of the Valara show at this point, especially on the left-hand side. So if you don't have Valara, you are probably going to struggle to beat this content. At the time of recording this, at least, I haven't found a very good substitution for her, so you know, you may have to basically just do some trial and error with other esotericist damage dealers inside your particular account. Now, obviously somebody like a Boreas is pretty strong for this as a potential substitution. A lot of people are using Eris as well. He is from the same faction, so he could be a very viable unit. We have Lyra. She's not really the best, though, because she is a single target damage dealer, so that's something to consider. But, you know, there certainly are other options out there that you can use, of course. Now, we do also have Elowen coming in. Elowen is absolutely fantastic. For where I deploy her, you couldn't really substitute her with an Airless, unfortunately, so you do kind of need an Elowen, or at least somebody who's able to give good healing as well as preferably a Dispel. We do also have Carnelian coming in. I forgot to show you the Elowen build there, and the Valara build, actually. I was yapping. So let's go ahead and show you the Valara build. She's built out very strong. 25, almost 26k attack, 322 on the speed, 125, 323 on the crit rate and crit damage, respectively, of course. We're going to go to Elowen, show you the build. She is, once again, in an invigoration set as well. That's going to be kind of a theme that you see with the healers. And then we have Carnelian, who's actually, you know, the exception to that. So she's got good speed, good rage regen, okay healing effect, nothing too crazy there. We have Morrigan coming in as the leader. Now, I will mention this too. If you don't have Carnelian, you're probably just going to want to replace her with some sort of a strong healer. Somebody like an Aelin could be very good for that, or just somebody else who can do really strong heals. So perhaps you could replace Carnelian with an Airless as well, and you'll see how that will work inside the placement there. Now, we do have Morgan. She's built out with, like, okay damage. She, again, was an auto-equip, so she has a crit rate and attack speed and all that on there, so you could definitely min-max her damage a little bit if you're struggling with this. If you don't have Morgan, then Demi's going to work. Demi might even debatably be better because of her slows. Aeon is going to be fantastic for this, as well as Abizu. I think it's those two, right? So Aeon is going to have a slow. And then Abizu does actually have the suck there as well, essentially, where she can bring everybody into her basic area. Where is it? It's right here. So ground effect area, which deals 10%. Am I crazy? Does she not have a pull-in? I thought she did. AoE magic damage. I thought she, like, pulls everybody in. Apparently not. I'm losing it here. Yeah, so she restores her rage, though, which is pretty cool. But any sort of a Lord unit from this particular faction is going to be pretty strong. For the Esotericists, obviously, if you have Cyrus, you're immediately, like, just doing so much better. You're literally, like, giggling and swinging your feet back and forth. Nastia could work as well, probably. I haven't tested it because I don't have her. We're now on to Beatrix. Now, Beatrix is fantastic. I do have her built out very, very well. So, 16k attack. We have 321 on the crit, or attack speed rather, 115, 295 on the crit rate and crit damage, rage regen of 61%. I did just bring over my Sun Wukong's gear and put it on her because she was naked previously. And as fun as that would be, we can't have that happen during one of these runs. Now, Anora, and I haven't shown you the artifact on Beatrix, so Beatrix has the maxed out Unfortunate Skull, which is funny because, you know, it's not the best, right? So if you're trying to min-max this, and I'll actually augment this real quick as well, kind of show this off too. The times 10 augmentations you can do is very, very cool. So you can really just not have to sit there anymore and manually do it every single time, which is very nice. But like I was going to say, if you're trying to min-max this, bring in a tier Twilight. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to augment this one a couple of times at least, and then I'm going to place this this on the Beatrix because it's better, right? It's going to give her a massive attack boost, so that's the way to go. Anora, she is not A1, so obviously we've had her run. She's an exclusive unit. We've had her run twice, so most players, if you're being smart with the game, will have her A1. I was pulling on other banners at the time, and I wasn't too worried about getting her to A1. It is what it is, I guess, right? So in terms of her gear, this is what we're rocking. 19k on the attack, 389 on the speed, 99.5, and then 333 on the crit rate and crit damage. And then the Gare Bear Classic, we always see it here, right, ladies and gentlemen, 0% rage regen. But in this case, it actually makes sense. You don't want rage regen on your Anora because she actually cannot be affected by any sort of like rage regen or anything like that. The only way she can get rage essentially is with her exclusive. So your Eloans and your Airlesses will not be able to rage regen for her. Now, the tank that we have is Malvira, and it is Malvira because frankly, I didn't have anyone else that I could really run. So if you don't have Malvira, there are some other options that you can use. Obviously, they won't necessarily have the Lord bonus. You could kind of use Brokir, especially if you're using like a Northerner composition or something like that. By that same token, King Hars could be your unit if you're using a Northerner comp. Apart from that, you're kind of screwed. You could use Torador, but yeah, there's nobody in the faction, so bringing him in as your leader is just kind of a waste, in my opinion. Constance isn't tanky enough to do it. You could maybe use an Olog. Like, it's very, very bare bones, right? You need some good tanks for this. In terms of her build, she is rocking the Unshaken Will. She's got a very solid build, and she's at 106,000 HP. Didn't really worry about any other stats. She's A0, and she has a Cadaver Dagger. You know, it's given her a nice little health boost. It is what it is. And then finally, we have Beelzebub. Beelzebub is not mandatory. When I was initially testing this particular team composition, he was replaced by Boreas, I believe. You want somebody who can just do some sort of slows, and maybe a little bit of inspiration, maybe a little bit of, you know, attack down, damage reduction, whatever it might be. Not attack down, not damage reduction. I'm thinking of Semra there, but you want somebody who can do some sort of control, but preferably also somebody who can fit into your faction. So since we're using cultists here, another fantastic option is going to be Vierna. You could also use somebody like an Ajax, right? Because he can do burning, he can do control, he does decent damage, right? He has this basic attack 15% chance to cast lightning at up to 5 targets, dealing AoE damage and inflicting slow. Now, slow is very important. He also brings the magic resistance reduction, by the way. So Ajax is a potentially very, very good unit for this. You know, if you don't happen to have, you know, Beelzebub, maybe you just happen to have one of the best unnamed units in the game, right? Maybe. In terms of the build, this is what we got Beelzebub going with. 10k attack, 97 crit rate, 382 speed, 303 crit damage. Could obviously min-max him. The problem with this content is it's very hard on your gear, right? So you have to gear so many heroes with such good gear that it makes it very, very hard to give everybody decent gear, unfortunately. So that is kind of a bit of a buzzkill, to say the least, but we make it work. Now, this particular team, I am able to consistently get it over 10k. So if you're strictly just looking to reach the bottom chest with your key, this team is going to get you there, right? The rewards are pretty poopy. Even if somehow you get reward 10, which is like physically impossible at this point, the rewards are still pretty poopy, right? Like, there's nothing crazy. So think of it this way. If you pull the Titan or the Wisdom Meteorite, you get 250 at the top chest and you get 200 at the bottom chest, right? Like, it's not worth stressing yourself out to try and get the top chests or higher chests at this point, in my opinion. Obviously, you're getting 11 items. You can get duplicates. It is what it is. We got casting hammers. We got spirits in here. Just a bunch of stuff that's not really too exciting. But at the end of the day, it is still free gear, or free items, free consumables. So I think everybody should be going for it. Let's quickly talk about the boss. Every YouTuber at this point has done a showcase on him, so I don't want to go obscenely in depth and really just, you know, talk your ears off about it. But we have this immunity barrier. You can't use magic damage against the physical form. You can't use physical damage against the magic form. It's locked to 10 damage, right? So it's very much the same as Abyss 1. Rift Gate, so the Rift Gates are going to spawn on either side of the boss. They constantly summon enemies that you have to take out. When all enemies in the current wave are eliminated, the next wave will immediately spawn. So generally, you either want to alternate your ultimates on your heroes depending on how good their damage is. If you have really good damage across all of your heroes, you probably want to alternate your ultimates. If you don't have such good damage, you may have to be popping those ultimates at the same time. It also means that somebody like a Eloin or an Airless is very important in this particular content. Relentless Evolution. Every time the Titan triggers unyielding, it immediately enters the emergency recharge protocol. After this state ends, Zerbus undergoes evolution, gaining permanent enhancement to all attributes. Same thing we see in Apocalypse 1 and APOC 2, where he just basically gains more stats after you put him into the unyielding. Pretty simple stuff. Now, this emergency recharge protocol is a big part of why you want to build your team in a certain way. So when he enters this state, he gets reduced physical damage and magic damage reduction. Another way to put that, a proper way to put that, is he takes increased damage, right? The Rift Gate ignores wave limits and continuously summons minions that move towards Zerbus. Now here's the important part. Once Zerbus absorbs sufficient minions, the weakened state is lifted, its phase is promoted, and all attributes are enhanced. Now, if you are really trying to maximize your damage, this is why you need some sort of slow or control inside your team, because you want to be able to slow down the enemies that are making their way towards Zerbus and just make sure that he doesn't get charged up as quickly, right? Because he's going to be in that weakened state, he's taking increased damage, etc. Now, Annihilation Pulse deals AoE damage twice to all enemies on the battlefield, and dealing damage for the second time inflicts the dispellable energy erosion. Energy erosion, the number of energy erosion stacks increases with Titan's phase and can be dispelled. Focused Strike locks onto the hero with the highest max HP on the battlefield. After charging for a short period, deals one instance of massive single target damage and inflicts an undispellable meltdown that deals high damage every 2 seconds. If the hero dies during this skill, deals high damage to all heroes 1 time. Now, this is an insanely important part of his kit because basically his stats are so ridiculous that at this point, if your tank dies, right, it's game over. You get wiped. It's as simple as that. Now, Chain, Fission, Zerbus begins channeling energy and summons reinforcements. If all summoned enemies are eliminated during a channeling phase, Zerbus will be introduced due to energy backlash. If summoned enemies are not eliminated during the channeling phase, survivors will be absorbed by Zerbus. Based on the quantity absorbed, deals AoE damage one time and inflicts vulnerability across the entire battlefield. During the skill, Rift Gates will no longer summon monsters. So, essentially, when this happens, your whole objective in life is to now defeat these enemies, right? Because if you don't defeat these enemies, you're going to have a pretty bad time when he absorbs them and does big AoE damage. So, that being said, let's go ahead and really just start to look into this. So as you can see inside my guild, there's a few people that have used their keys already, and we're sitting at around like anywhere between 6 to 16k on the bulwark phases. Now, interestingly, we do have somebody using a Sun Wukong against this phase, which is a bit questionable. I guess may not have read the fact that you can't use physical damage dealers, but far be it from me to question it, and we have about 16k. So this team will be kind of on par with that, and obviously, as you can see, we have like a Cyrus team here, right? And we have a Nastia team. A lot more Awakenings across these teams as well. In terms of the Awakenings, for me, I have an A1 Valara. That's really about it. I don't have any other Awakenings on the team, unfortunately. So let's go ahead, hop into it, go through the run here, show you how it's done, all that sort of good stuff, and you guys can kind of get an idea for it. Now, this is very loud on my end, so I hope it's not so loud on your guys' end. But another thing I want to call out real quick, so we obviously have these dispellable stacks, right? Try to avoid using Nerissa to dispel those. The reason being, if you do, she's no longer going to be available to heal your tank, which can have disastrous results, and I've learned that the hard way. So, Valara, and these placements are interchangeable. So, if you just want to flip them, and if you want to place them on the other side, that's perfectly fine, but, you know, same general placement that I was doing. So, Valara goes on the left-hand side here, and she faces left, of course. We then get Nerissa at the top, facing down. Next up, I'm going to place my Anora right about here. Now, Anora, you can place one of two places. You can place her on the bottom tile here, or the tile that I placed her on. I'm going to place her on that tile. Malvira goes right here, facing to the right. Carnelian goes at the bottom, facing up. Eloin goes in the middle, facing left. Beatrix goes on the far left, facing left. And then we have our Morrigan come here and face down. And then we have Venoma go here and face left. Now, if you need to, you can also place the Beatrix, who's facing the boss for some reason, where the Venoma went instead. We're going to pop our Valara as soon as we can. We're also going to pop our Anora as soon as we can. So, this is the Annihilation Pulse. You can see that we now have those stacks on us, essentially. It's not a big deal, just kind of chill out. But now we have the Focus Strike coming in, and kind of right when the Focus Strike gets to the end is when I want to pop my Eloin, because you can see we're going to take big damage, like 144,000 damage to our tank, and we need to heal up our tank to make sure that she survives. Now, Eloin also does a very good job in this position of dispelling all of these debuffs, which is very nice. So she can hit basically everybody except Morrigan. So that's something to consider there as well. We have another Focus Strike coming in. So this time, we're going to go ahead and pop Eloin's Wood Elf, which is going to help us get those heals out that we need. And this is really why Eloin is so good for this particular content. Because, of course, somebody like an Airless doesn't have it. I'm not going to lie, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes you may need to pause to really just make sure that you're triggering all the ultimates and stuff like that, because generally you don't want to have them on like auto ult. And here we actually have the phase coming through I was talking about, where you do want the slows, because you can do big damage to the boss here. We don't actually damage the boss, right? So we're damaging his minions. That does damage ticks to him. Simple as that. This is the part where you want the slows, you want the pushback, you want the control, you want the CC, because you can see now he has to sit there and wait the time out of this whole bar to deplete, as opposed to just getting replenished right away with these units walking through. Now, we're already up at 7,700 cores or blood or whatever particular made-up currency it is that we're fighting for here. We're going to go ahead and basically just pop everybody's ults. We do have our... I forgot his name, Beelzebub, who's on the right side there. We do have the Eloin Cleanse available, so same thing. We're going to pop that right around when we see the Focused Strike come up. So right around when it gets to the end, we pop our Eloin. That should be enough to help keep our tank alive. As you can see, it's always very close, though. Like, she is taking so much damage, and it's usually right around this point that my tank dies, unfortunately. So we take some AoE there. It kind of is what it is. I'm actually going to use Narissa now to cleanse, which, again, like I said, you probably shouldn't, because that's going to mean the next focus strike we really struggle. But we do have the Wood Elf available, who's going to help a lot as well. So our tank is dead. Everybody else is dead. That big smack came in. Not really much we could do about it there, unfortunately. It kind of is what it is, I suppose. We weren't able to... He just got one shot, or she got one shot. It wasn't like we had the option to really do more damage or anything like that there. Our Valara is dead on the left-hand side as well, so we have very little damage happening over there. Everybody's basically just walking through, no problem to the boss, unfortunately. And you can kind of see we're just slowly losing over time. So I'm going to go ahead and restart this, just kind of show you one more run through in case there was any questions that you may have had or anything like that. And again, you know, if you have a way to really min-max this or do this better, by all means, be my guest. Feel free to share it in the comments, and I would love to see it. This is just a team that I was able to come up with after some initial testing throughout the day. So I've spent the better part of like 3 hours just sitting here trying different team compositions and whatnot. At this point, unfortunately, I just simply do not have the team comp needed to be able to do good scores on the physical damage side of things. So yeah, that's unfortunately not going to happen. Now on the left hand side, we're going to let them get taken care of by Beatrix. We're not really going to worry about popping the Valara quite yet. Like I mentioned, you do want to essentially just be staggering your ultimates, and that's not something I did last round, which I think did hurt us a little bit there. At this point, we can go ahead and use Narissa because the boss hasn't charged up enough, so we don't have to worry about really getting one shot on the tank there. And you do want to place down, obviously, the Wood Elf to get those burst heals out there. You can still see like over 100k, 78k per pop. Like, this is insane. This is why you need such strong healing. We now have the Relentless Evolution coming through, so we're going to pop our Beatrix, we're going to pop our Beazle, pop Carnelian, and kind of let them do their thing. Our Valara is charging up, so unfortunately we don't have as much CC coming through from her guaranteed pushback there, but that should be okay, I think. We're still going to get decent damage off. As you can see, she does get one pushback. We now trigger her ult. She's going to get another instant pushback, which is just really, really good for keeping these guys off the boss, of course, which is quite nice. And we do get another nice little burst of damage there, which is pretty cool. So now we're back to it. We have Narissa charging up. We have Malvira coming in. Now, I haven't really had a chance to test, like, obviously a Brokir or really, like, a Northerners squad or anything like that on this particular stage. So, you know, I may end up being able to make a video saying, hey, the Northerners are the way to go. But at this particular point in time, at least, that does not appear to be the case. So we do have Eloin's ultimate popped. We have the Wood Elf coming in, and you can still see Malvira is fighting for her life to survive, people. This is absolute pandemonium. This is craziness. We're going to pop a Nora. We're going to pop Beatrix. And we're just going to try and keep getting more damage onto the boss. Now, at this point, we don't have our Wood Elf, and we do not have Eloin's ultimate ready to pop. So I think right here we're going to get clapped. Yeah, there it is. Took a second, but we got shredded, unfortunately. So if you follow this team composition exactly as I showed it, you are going to go ahead and be able to get yourself to the bottom chest at least. I imagine that we're going to see a very, very good percentage of the player base sitting at that particular threshold. Like I mentioned, this is kind of the Valara show, right? So I'll go ahead and move myself here again. Kind of the Valara show, though. So we have 106 million on her. That being said, Anora is pretty close behind, right? So Anora has 96 million, but then after that, we go down pretty quick. So we have Beatrix at 29 million, and then everybody else is just not really doing damage. So if you can bring in more DPS units, like I mentioned, you know, bring in like an Ajax or something like that, that's going to help out as well. So just something to consider on that front. And certainly, if you have better lords for the esotericists, that's going to go a long ways as well. Now, that being said, I do have a Discord link down in the description, so make sure to go ahead and hop in there if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. And I just want to say as well, at the time of recording this, last night I hit 3,000 subscribers, so thank you guys all so much for the support on the channel. It means the world to me. This channel is doing way better than I ever thought it would, which is fantastic. And it's all owed to you guys, the viewers, the people who comment, the people who like. Make sure to go ahead and do that stuff for the YouTube algorithm so that it knows that this is a video that you enjoyed, so you get more of them. Make sure to go ahead and turn on that bell notification as well if you want to get alerted whenever I upload it. That being said, thank you guys all so much for watching. I'll see you next time.